Our thoughts create our reality. This happens on an individual basis and on a collective basis. We create our own version of reality with our thoughts, but when a large number of people believe the same thing, they can create that thing to happen with the power of their collective thoughts. Thought forms are energy fields and they are incredibly powerful. When you come together with other people and you have the same thoughts, that intensifies and increases that power. Now this can be a huge advantage. Think about the great spiritual awakening that's happening now. When enough people come together and think of a better world, they are literally dreaming that into existence. The more of us who awaken, we're making that process even stronger. People are tuning into these frequencies far easier because there are so many of us putting out these high frequency thoughts. The energy gets easier to access when even just a few people awaken. The light just oozes into people's consciousness. Now think about how this could be used to the advantage of someone with a lower vibration and a more negative intention. Well, this is already happening. We only need to look at the media. That's the most obvious place you're going to see this being played out. So the media, newspapers and the news often describe really awful, horrific things happening in the world, and they describe in detail using highly emotive language. Look at when COVID hit the headlines. Now, as much as I steer away from the news, it was unavoidable at the time. It was everywhere. And it was always doom and gloom. Massive red capital letters with the words death toll all over people's TVs. Highly emotive, highly fearful language. When enough people believe something awful is happening, it fuels that awful thing. It gives it power. It makes it stronger. When you can get a whole country believing something, that power is intensified. But if you can get the entire planet believing it, how much power do you think that gives it? The fear on the planet in 2020 was unreal because it was fueled by those who want to scare us. Why do they want to scare us? Well, this goes back to the Matrix and the 3D game, where we learned that in order to keep people in the game, you need to keep them small, frightened, powerless, compliant, and of a lower vibration. COVID was used as a way to increase that fear. If the people in power want a war, they'll simply tell the world that war is looming. And if you can get enough people to believe that war is happening, it's more likely to occur. Remember, our thoughts create our reality. But this is actually really empowering because it's a simple case of changing our thoughts. And when we do that, we create the new earth. We change our thoughts, we raise our vibration, and everything changes. So practice discernment. Whenever you hear or read something that scares you, tune into the intention behind the person who is sharing it. What could they be trying to achieve? This isn't to make you paranoid. You're not asking your brain to jump in here. You're asking your body, your senses, and your intuition. When someone is trying to plant a negative thought in your mind, choose a better thought. One that makes you feel good, not one that disempowers you. And of course, we can do this to ourselves as well. We can get stuck in a pattern of negative thinking and it becomes a habit. Once we start to catastrophize, so that is when we imagine the worst possible outcome, that creates new neural pathways in our brain. And the more we have those negative thoughts, the more likely they are to happen, and the more negative thoughts we continue to get. So we get stuck in a cycle. If you notice yourself catastrophizing, firstly, don't beat yourself up. We've all done it. I don't want to make you feel bad about it. Simply notice the thought and state something, either out loud or in your head, that will help you to drop that thought. So when I do this, I say clear, clear, either out loud or in my head, depending on where I am. That's a statement I'm giving to my brain that I want it to drop the thought and clear it from my mind. Now, I like to use the word clear, or you could say dissolve or drop, whatever works for you. If you like to use your body when you're releasing a negative thought, you could include a hand movement. So it could be like you practice pushing the thought away from you as you say clear. Just find something that feels comfortable for you and that you can use quickly. What you're doing is giving a command to your brain. And once you've done that, create a better feeling thought, one that has the opposite outcome of the negative one you were having. And what you're doing then is forming new neural pathways in your brain, but they're positive pathways, and you're literally rewiring your brain to think positively. The more you do this, the more positive thoughts will flow to you, and you'll have less and less intrusive negative thoughts. It does take practice to get into that habit, but the sooner you start, the better. Catastrophizing is quite common. I sat with this once in meditation and I asked myself, why do I catastrophize? And I received the response, so that I'm prepared for bad things in case they happen. So I asked myself, would I rather be prepared for bad things to happen? Or would I rather they just didn't happen? And that created a real shift when I thought about that. I just realised that I don't need to be prepared for every single possible thing to go wrong, because I'm inviting it in. I don't need to be prepared because it's not going to happen. Depending on what programming you've been given in this lifetime, you might be having some thoughts that it isn't healthy to imagine the best all the time, that you'd be seeing the world through rose-tinted spectacles, as the saying goes, that you're somehow naive, or that you'll be more at risk of getting hurt if you blindly expect things to go your way. Now, these are things that I've been taught in my lifetime from the people around me, but they're not true. There's something that we've been taught which is harmful to us because it keeps us in fear. So if you've been programmed to believe that you shouldn't imagine things going well, that's negative programming that you've been given by other people who've also been given that negative programming. And it's to keep you small, fearful, and easy to control. So if you were having those sorts of thoughts, clear those as well. You are the creator of your life, and if you want to experience more joy, more peace, and more love, then choose joyful, peaceful, and loving thoughts.